Putting aside for a moment the question whether teaching of these ideologies trenches on the fundamental rights of parents to direct the upbringing of their children or violate the free exercise of religion, there's a threshold question. Where does the state get the authority for this? It's certainly not based on science. It's patently, much of it, such as transgenderism, is patently contrary to objective reality. It's an ideological dogma. Now, the government may have a legitimate interest, even a compelling interest at times, in having its citizens learn to read the same language, write the same language, add and subtract so they can conduct commerce, and other kinds of technical knowledge, maybe even civics and health hygiene and topics like that. But it has no right to tell people what to think. What is the state's compelling interest in promoting purely secular belief systems over, say, traditional systems that are predicated on religious belief? What is the state's compelling interest? The fact that the state is precluded from affirmatively promoting religion does not mean that the state is free to privilege secular belief systems over religious ones. Unfortunately, parents have gotten so used to sending their kids off to government-run schools that some seem to be under the impression that the government and school boards have untrammeled authority over the content of what is presented to students inside those buildings. Oh, it's the school building. It's the school board that decides what goes in there. And that's perfectly fine. It's the government's power and prerogative. It seems to me that this is a regression to the ancient idea that the state is all-powerful and has plenary authority to define for its citizens what a good life is and compel them to adhere to it. This obviously runs contrary to the whole trajectory of Western history and certainly the American proposition that the reach of government over our thoughts and beliefs is limited. Under our system, it is not the role of the government to define what the good life is or to lead men to it or to shape man in its own image. Beyond this, it seems to me that the use of public schools to teach secular ideologies impermissibly encroaches on the fundamental rights of parents to direct the upbringing of their children and on the exercise of their religious liberty. Now, we know the Supreme Court has recognized in a number of cases that parents have a fundamental right to guide the education of their children. And when it comes to the religious dimensions of education, we are really dealing with a compound right that Scalia referred to in his Smith decision. Whether that decision was right or wrong, the point is, he said, when you have the parental rights coupled with another right, as here, education and moral education and its impact on the exercise of religion, you're obviously dealing with a fundamental right. At the core of religious liberty, for anyone of faith, is the right to raise their children in that faith. And forcing students to submit to indoctrination into ways of thinking that are hostile to it is monstrous and clearly infringes on religious liberty.